Evolve 360, a holistic approach to life, is an exploration of learning through experience to transform individually and culturally as a whole by taking a 360-degree look at the quality of our life, including the limiting beliefs, worn-out paradigms, and destructive habits that have led us to where we are today, and to instead create or revolutionize a new life vision that brings greater peace, appreciation, fulfillment, clarity, happiness, and joy as we ultimately evolve. So in our last episode, Cheli and I introduced the Saboteur archetype as the guardian of choice, and how this archetype shines the light on power and how we use it or how we lose it. In today's episode, we're going to take it even a step further, and we're going to boldly discuss, wait for it, sex and power, and how the sex urge is a form of energy, and because of our ignorance on the subject, this energy is generally associated with only the physical. But it's so much more than that. It's the most powerful force in the universe. So let's dive in and get sexy. Welcome to Evolve 360 Cheli Shell Show with hosts
Cheli Grace
and Shelley Devine. Hey, soul sister, how you doing?
Hey girl, I'm here just loving this podcast like you have no idea. This is so much fun, isn't it?
I'm having a blast too. And today's topic, woo-hoo-hoo.
Get ready to rumble.
Get ready to.
Get ready, everybody.
Get ready. Let's get the sexy on.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Sexy.
Got your sexy on. I got my sexy shirt on. It's got
Lee. Yes. Well,
yeah.
I was like, maybe I should have wore lingerie, but I was like, I don't know.
I don't think so.
No,
well,
not that, no.
My shirt, and I just, you know me. I'm like,
yeah. I could have worn leather and lace. Maybe that's what I should have wore.
That's you.
That would be me. A little leather, a little lace.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
So let's dig right in. And today we're talking about sex and power. And it's, first of all, I want to let everybody know that this is an important topic, but it's a topic that we want to talk about energetically and the energies that play around the whole mystery of sex and power. But before we start, let's set an intention, because we can utilize so much of that as fuel to power us into what we want to do. And I found like the coolest quote. Okay. It is anonymous, but I wanted to share it with everybody because I thought it was so appropriate to today's show. So are you ready? Let's set our intention around this quote. In the source of every vital power lies the source of endless wealth. Interesting.
Very interesting when you start to think of what prosperity is, and abundance and power.
And power, and how they're all intertwined and intermeshed, and how we can use some of the energy that we have to fuel us into our creativity and into our power. Yeah. And this is what today's show is all about. How to use it in a way where it's going to be productive for you in your life and moving forward.
And creating a life that is full of prosperity, abundance through your sexual power and energy too as well. Yeah.
Absolutely. It's something that a lot of us have learned because we've studied and we've read, but it's still a topic that is out there that's very
taboo.
Very taboo.
And it causes a lot of problems in relationships and in our lives, like it definitely, and because people don't understand maybe possibly the power of it and how it is connected with finances.
Totally. And all the power plays everywhere in your personal relationships, in your corporate and business relationships. in all the power plays. And, we're here to teach you guys how you can see things symbolically, archetypally, and energetically so that your life can improve, because all of this is just becoming aware. There's no formula. It's just becoming aware and understanding, taking a step back and looking at your life like through a movie, and then making a wise decision for yourself using your intention and your intuition and the word that we love, which is discernment. Discernment.
And the great thing about it is really kind of setting yourself up to look at your life as a whole and using these, archetypal forces that we've been talking about, and using energy to set up a life that is coming through you. You don't have to, you can pick and choose. It's like, it's almost like looking in maybe a catalog or something. You can pick and choose, but you want to be in complete alignment with what you choose. So whatever we're talking about today, say you might be like, ooh, this is a little, uncomfortable to talk about, because we're talking about sex, and we're going to dive in pretty deep into this topic, but if you're not comfortable with it, you don't have to, take, that road or this road. You don't have to do anything that we're going to be talking about. What you do is you apply it to your own life and see what works for you. And if it doesn't, don't. I like the idea of experimentation, but safely. Not I'm not saying we had touched on Shelley and I went to this, conference on sex, and then we walked out because we weren't comfortable with it. We were like, hell no. We were 15 minutes in, and we looked at each other and we're like, this ain't what we thought it was. And we walked out, and then we found out some stuff later, and we were pretty accurate on how it went. And we were like, no, we don't want a part of that. So anything that we talk about, it's really about exploring and finding out what works for you and what doesn't work for you, and take what might work for you. Maybe it's a little taste of this, a little taste of that, and oh wow, that makes sense, or that really resonates with me. And that's how you go about creating your life, and using the sexual energy, the sexual urge as a catalyst for creativity in your life. Right yeah.
Absolutely. And it's funny that you mentioned that, because Shelley and I have known each other for a very long time, and we've studied together, taken courses and workshops ad infinitum, right? And we never stop learning. But this is something that is just out there. And I guess, we were talking about the book from Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, and how we're gonna dive deep in that. But the other day when we were doing our pre-call, we were saying how they took a chunk of what we know was really part of the whole process that we're going to talk about. They took it out because at the time when that book was written, it just wasn't.
People weren't ready for it to talk openly. I mean, we went through the 70s, free love and everything. So we're there. We can talk about it, but we're still not where we need to be on the topic of sex. On a global, in this country, there's still, there's kind of, different belief systems about it. And it's very kind of squelched down, even though, and we see a lot of negativity in our, maybe in our media, or in TV shows, or a little bit too much here, too much there. And it's all about the physical. It's not about the energetic. Today, we're going to talk about the energetic side, the sex energy, and the urge, because most often we only see it in the physical, and that's all we have is our perception about that, especially in this culture, in the United States. I don't know what it's like out in other countries, but it's definitely like that here. I've grown up here, I know.
Yeah, but it's interesting that you said media, because I know that there's commercials in Europe that are just very open with their sexuality, whereas here, I guess it's because of the puritanical, when our forefathers came here, and you have to look back and look at your traditions, your beliefs, your culture. It's just part of your history, and this is part of the history of the United States. But if you go on YouTube and look at certain commercials that are based out of Europe, you'll see that they're the flavor is very different when it comes to how they express their sexuality in commercials versus, the way that we do it here in the States. So that's something interesting that I
Yeah.
just want to throw out there, because you said media, and it's so true. It's about
Yeah.
how people see and foresee, and
Yeah.
our beliefs. Basically, it's all about your beliefs and what you think about.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and I would say, to add on to that, the shadow
Mhm.
side of like the sexual kind of, if there's like a sex archetype. I mean, when we think of sex,
Right,
we have like ideas in our heads. So,
right.
like, I mean, marketing, like it's so used in so many different realms of marketing and commercials and stuff, and that's not really what it is. It's not really, it's kind of used in a maybe not the greatest way to sell something, to sell a product or a service, and it's kind of used, and gives, say young children growing up
The wrong meaning.
the wrong meanings behind
It's
it,
the wrong meaning.
archetypally, and that's what we're here to kind of maybe a little bit debunk and maybe educate,
Right.
you listeners on, because it's more than that. It's way more than that. And I think you find that out when you're in a relationship with somebody, a significant relationship. But then there's also, like, there's that light and shadow side of how we use it and how we maybe abuse it.
Exactly. And what Shelley said is right, because we're here to talk about the energetic side, not the physical side. That's something that, is definitely a different topic, it's not what we're into, but we're into sharing with you what that energetic, it's like when you meet somebody and, people, you run to your girlfriend, you say, oh my God, I have so much chemistry with that person, and I just can't wait to, go out with them, or, your first kiss, that energy leading up to that conclusion. That's what we want to talk about, and how you can harness that energy to propel you into in all areas of your life. And that's why that quote that started with, create your prosperity, is so important for everybody to understand. And this has been around for 100 years.
Oh,
I mean,
more than that, longer.
thousands of years.
It's the whole basis of the human race. It's all
Totally.
about creation. I mean, the world
Yeah.
started that way. Boom! It was like two something came together, and
2 years.
boom, the Big Bang, and here we are on this planet. That's a lot of power.
It's a lot of power.
You
And
know?
it's a subject that everybody's very intrigued with.
Yes.
And I didn't tell you this, but I think I'm going to share it with the viewers and with
Okay.
you. When I went on a mother-daughter trip with my mom.
Oh God, sex and your mom. Oh.
That was
Right.
good, because my
Yeah.
mom is from a culture that we never talked about it. It's like it
Yeah.
just didn't go there.
Yeah.
And she was a beautiful, classy lady, and great, great, great person. But we were in Europe, and we're on a excursion, and one of the sites, which I hadn't really looked at, because my mother's like, oh, let's go to the Louvre and all the other places. Well, we were in this big group, and one of the stops was the Sex Museum in Paris.
Oh,
So yes,
wow.
ma'am. And I'm thinking, oh, this is cool. But then all of a sudden I'm like, I'm with my mom. I don't know if I can do this with my mom.
You
So
curious?
I don't know. I was like, I don't know if I can go in there with my mom. So anyways, long story short, thank God it was a big group,
Yeah.
because we kind of like split up, and it was very interesting. It's funny how we all have these perceptions, but my mom was a cool lady,
Mm.
but it was just like, it was very uncomfortable for me. But then, I just let it go. I stood stayed in the back with a bunch of other women, and we had a really great time. But one of the things that I wanted to share with everybody in this museum, it was like fascinating, because they had things like the history from, like you said, the beginning of time.
Oh,
And
wow.
it was very, very interesting how you harness the power of energy
Mm.
through creativity, through your sexual creativity. And we're going to talk about that. So are you guys ready? And the archetypes that are behind them.
Oh, yeah, there's
Yeah.
a couple archetypes that are behind them that I can think of off the top of my head that I have. One of them.
We both have them.
And it definitely assisted in my growth sexually as a human being, not just sexually, but just as a human being as a whole. And it's the damsel. Oh, man. And that particular archetype, if you're not familiar with it, the whole idea of the damsel has to become independent and take care of herself, because she is typically beautiful and vulnerable. Oh, help me. Remember the cartoons we used to watch on, like on TV, what was it? Dudley Do-Ray. And then you'd have the woman on the, on the, on the, on the train, like rails or whatever. Help me. And Dudley Do-Ray would come and save her.
Yes, here he
comes to save the day. Well, that's the knight. There is always a knight saving the damsel. I mean, she's gone with the wind, and Scarlett O'Hara finally, Brett saying,
Rhett Butler.
Yeah, Rhett Butler saying, all right, honey, I've had enough. And she's like, okay, she makes her way and she does her thing. She
exactly
doesn't need to be rescued anymore by the knight. And she's just grown. Like, she grows and takes care of herself. And that has been me.
That's you. But what people need to understand is that the damsel then turns into the grande dame.
Oh, that's true.
Archetype.
Yes.
The wise woman who's been there and done that. And during this process has learned that she can take care of herself.
And then too, typically the men will follow her. This is the other side of it, is when she grows up, the men will follow her and serve. They not in a bad way, but they'll be like, they'll see like whatever it is she's doing, like if she's, got a mission or something like that, they will, the Notre Dame, they're usually in service, and they'll be like honor, respecting, and it's the light side, and it's the growth process of the damsel, which leads into the dynamic between male and female.
And if I can put a pause there, because I wanted to bring it home to everybody listening, because what you just said is so important, because then it brings it home to that woman who's now the CEO of a corporation, or she's running a team and they're all men, because she's highly respected by these men. They follow her and they take whatever she has to say seriously with honor and respect. So that's exactly right. So I wanted to put a pause there to
that was exactly amazing, and only you could put it down and ground it for us. Thank you. See that the great dynamic between Shelley and I is I'm high up in the clouds sometimes, and Shelley freaking brings it down to earth and grounds it. So we got a heaven and earth thing happening here. And we can ground it for you listeners. So you're like, how am I going to apply this in my life, damsel? I don't know,
and it's important, because I worked for 2 years as part of my whole, kind of journey that I've done. I worked for a financial, as a financial advisor for a huge company. And this company was full of men. And how do you get men to respect you? So all these women that are in, corporate sales, that is more of a male dominated industry. This is what we're talking about. Yeah. Because everybody looks at, I remember when I started, 100 years ago, doing the financial services, because I started a long time ago doing that. And all the men would come up to you and go, hon, can you get me a cup of coffee? And it'd be like,
and you want to choke them.
Yeah. Cause
right?
I have
the
same degree as you, and I'm not your coffee girl.
Yeah, exactly.
But, we've evolved and we've come into our own. And I think this is what we're all trying to talk about, where it's part of this whole energy and how you can use it to make progress within, your teams, your life, your home, your business.
So you just touched on, being in the boardroom, and do you want to get into the sex in the boardroom part now? Since we already kind of like, you just kind of, twinkled a little dust there, about being.
I wanted to bring it home so that everybody understood what we were trying to say.
Exactly.
I love giving stories, because then people can kind of tie the story into the mythology, the archetype, what we're trying to say, like to today's world. Yeah. But you jump in, you start.
Okay. Well, I'm just thinking of the Femme Fatale and how she wields her power. That's another archetypal pattern. And when we think of the Femme Fatale, we're thinking of, a woman that manipulates in order to gain financial gain, or maybe she already has it, but she really is very comfortable with manipulating men to have her way, and then sometimes might even X them off. The whole conquest thing where she might, get rid of them. You see that in the movies.
Side.
Huh?
Right. That's the shadow side.
Yeah, that's totally the shadow side. But her whole thing is she's drawn to money and power, and she doesn't give her emotions away. And so you might be in the workforce and you might, be a strong, empowered woman, but man, your heart's closed to love.
Right.
And the Femme Fatale is going to show you how to be open to love, because love is a key ingredient into the energy that we're talking about too, and creating it in a positive, which we'll get there, but into a positive dynamic to use it to create your life.
Totally. And I think that sometimes people close their hearts off because they've been hurt.
Yeah.
And you have to be gentle with yourselves, but you have to give yourself another chance. And it first starts with self-love, loving yourself first. Mm-hmm. And accepting yourself, and then that energy will start opening up. But it's a very good point that you bring about. Mm-hmm. And this is why we're here talking about it, because sometimes you're working in teams or you're working in a business and you just don't get that person. You're like, how can they be that way? But energetically and with archetypal language and symbols, it makes it easier to navigate those roads that sometimes are difficult for us.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like, so, if you're in, in the boardroom and there are, you're having contact with strong and powerful and compelling, either a man or a woman, it's like there's charisma involved, and there's, and sometimes we get really attracted to that and to that power. And sometimes we're mistaken on what might be giving out and off. And we have to kind of know, like, all right, is this something that is specifically for me physically, or is it just a strong energy? And to be able to discern between that and rein in our own sexual urges, right? And knowing when it's appropriate to react or respond or whatever, like if you're in a weird situation like that. But what else? I mean,
well, you have to be very careful because you have to. I'm always from the philosophy of I never go there. I mean, I'm always very professional. I'm very and that to me is something that is unethical. I mean, I would never date anybody in the work force or anything like that was on a team with me, or I just don't think it's right, because then things can happen. And so that's not, we're talking about harnessing that charisma to make it work for you. Let's say that you're working on a project, and let's face it, when you have this energy and this enthusiasm, this joy, you're looking great, you're glowing, use it to force your creative power and to create something of substance that's going to bring you recognition, that's going to bring you a talent. And yes, it's hard to do because you have to have a lot of self-discipline, and you have to, like Shelley said, everybody likes to be in that, and hey, I live in Miami, South Beach. It's all about the party life and the illusion, but that's all it is. It's an illusion. And what you have to look at is further from that moment to say, okay, what do I want to be in a week or two or a month or a year, and how do I want people to respect me, and how do I want my projects to go? So you have to be careful in doing anything that's going to compromise you. So what we're saying is use that charisma, use that energy to get your teams to work together, to get your, business associates to work together, for people to see that you're in your A game, and being able to put together plans and be respected with authority. And I'm telling you, it's amazing how when you tap into that energy, it totally is a game changer. Total game changer.
Yeah. And you do have to know, you have to have some wherewithal and be aware of what you're actually putting out, what's going to attract, if you have, like, say, maybe you're an older, mature, you're suited in your, like you're in your business or whatever it is that you do. And then you're putting out some energy or whatever, and some younger who doesn't know their sexual energy could be misreading things. You have to be very transparent about what it is you're putting out, especially because you will be the first one that senses it, and not to take advantage of, people in that, if you have authority over someone, you're in a position of authority in the boardroom, you don't take advantage. And we do see that in our culture, that does happen.
Yes.
I think it happens more to, I don't know, maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I would think it happens more to women than it does men. But now there are a lot more women, who have, their VPs, their CEOs or whatever, and they're in positions where they could take advantage of a young male. And we have to be cautious of that. So it's having some awareness about that, and having the appropriate boundaries, and being able to discern how to create with that, which we're gonna touch on in this episode.
Right. Exactly. But it's being aware, and everybody has, you have that intuition, I mean, how many of you have been in situations that that person, has a liking to you, but use it. How can I put this? As you can always have another friend. Use it in that energy, because when you're working with someone, the last thing you want to do is have a situation that's really going to get out of control, and it's going to create a problem in your life. So use it in an energetic way to be able to, and we keep saying this, to harness that energy, because that energy is so delightful. It's a delightful energy. It's really, think about when you first fell in love and you were just giddy with joy, you glowed, you were looking great. It's the same thing,
Yeah. So there are three constructs of, the sexual urge. The thing, there's three constructs of it. One is the perpetuation of mankind. That's obvious. Everybody kind of knows that, right? Then the second one is the maintenance of health and therapeutic practice. And by producing what Shelley was just talking about, all those bliss hormones. So it's really good to have sex, like regularly, on some level. I told you we're going to get a little raw and, get into it. But leaving the boardroom, we're going now at home, and you're in the sanctity of your own home, and and you're with your significant other or whatever. Maybe you're a single person, doesn't really matter. But having, the physical stuff and creating that energy in your body is hugely great for your entire physical system, well-being,
for your well-being,
everything, because of the hormones that when you orgasm, they give off, or just all the happy feelings that it brings up. It brings up all the amazing good emotions. Now just think, if you're creating a life through good emotions because you got that going on in your head, and all the hormones are clicking in. I mean, you're feeling peace, you're feeling great, you're happy, you're joyful, you're feeling loving towards yourself and maybe whoever it is you're with. And you got all those juices flowing, and then you're like, boom, that energy is rising.
That's true.
You wanna get on that wave.
You do.
And you start thinking about things that you want to create. This is called co-creating with the source, with universe, and using that energy, because it's such a high positive frequency that's happening if you're doing it the way we're describing it.
Right.
Because there is the shadow side of it, and we're not even going to talk about that today.
No, we don't want to go there, because
we don't even want to go there.
And now that you brought that up, that's about the chapter that we were talking about in that book that Napoleon Hill wrote, I think in the 1930s, Think and Grow Rich.
Yeah.
And he has a huge chapter on sex transmutation.
Yes.
And that's...
Yeah, well, I'll let you finish. Sorry.
No, but it's exactly what we're talking about, and how to use that energy. And they talked about vibration and energy. But when Shelley and I were reviewing it, we realized that back in the 30s, they took some pieces of it out because it just wasn't ready to be unveiled. Whereas now we're in a world where we're co-creating. Everything has changed, and we're getting so much information that we didn't have before. And it's so spread. It is so common. And that's one of the biggest reasons that we both decided to do this show, because of our studies and because what we know that we want to share with the world. So that sexual transmutation is an important piece in co-creating your reality, your wealth, your projects. And we want to touch upon that because that is really the key formula.
Yeah.
To prosperity.
Yeah. It's amazing because, I mean, who'd have thought that in a book, published back then called Think and Grow Rich, there's a chapter, I think it's like chapter 11 or something like that.
Is.
And it's on the sex transmutation.
But it's called The Mystery of Sex.
Oh, yeah. See, they don't even talk about it as transmutation, right?
It says The Mystery of Sex Transmutation.
Yeah. And people back then, like probably people today, is like, what does that mean?
Right. Because it's a really deep subject, okay?
Yeah. And what it means is, in our past podcasts, we've talked about energy. I've done a few meditations about talking about the chakra system.
Right.
Now, I only touched a little bit on the chakra system. This is a whole energy system that is the equivalent to your anatomy and physiology, your physical body, only it's energetic. Okay. And this is well documented for centuries. All right. Like it's not like it's just, poof, came up and is just out there now. I mean, you can start Googling this and you'll find tons of information, and people are more open and talking about it. A lot of more people know about it. You'll typically hear about it maybe in your yoga class, but anyways, what he was talking about back then is while you're in the act of sex, it's about raising your breath, about raising the energy up through the chakra system, not just typically maybe not today, but like in this day and age, more people are probably, got things going on and no energy a little bit more. But, back maybe when our folks were coming up, there was none of this stuff talked about. No. And everything was in the root chakra, where we talked about the red color and it's tribal. And that's very primitive, and the power is very earth-based and physical. It doesn't get into the spiritual realms. It doesn't come out of the earth realms. It doesn't come into the manifestation. It's just very physical. It's touch. And that's it. And that's how, I think for a period of time until we went through the 70s, that's pretty much how sex might have been back in the day. I don't know. I didn't live there, but I think it kind of was, So anyways, you're bringing the energy in. And now this transmutation thing is, you want to, as you breathe, is bring that vibration up through the chakra system, all the way up, and it comes out the crown of the head and then taps into the cosmos. Now, if you're a guy, you don't want to have an orgasm. You want to kind of keep that orgasm in, and let that energy build up that chakra system. And then it's just going to give you some massive power to create this idea of wealth and abundance, especially if you're doing it through love, because you do have to have the higher vibrations of emotions involved in this. Emotions are vibrational, and this energy that Napoleon Hill was talking about, transmutation, had to do with vibration and frequency. He did not talk about it in the book because people wouldn't understand it. When I talk vibration and frequency, think of a radio station. You're on like the station that you like, and then if you're in between it, that scratching sound, you're off vibration. You're not on the vibration. It could be like you're in a negative energy, like a negative emotion or something like depression or anger or hate or any of those vibrations. You're going to create that in your life. Fear, false expectations, or what is it? False events appearing real.
Right. Exactly.
You're in that mode. And so when we're talking about transmutation, it's about those completely higher vibrations. And then when you're doing that and you're practicing that, say, even with another human being, somebody that you love and care about and cherish, and you're coming together in union through sexual intercourse, then you're raising that vibration and the universe hears you. And you're like an antenna, and the universe says, oh, wow. Okay, whatever it is that you're doing in your life, you're going to draw in all the resources of the universe. You're going to draw that to you. That's power. And that's flipping crazy amazing.
Right. So let me bring it down.
Okay.
What it means is, I don't want people to think, oh, I'm going to go have sex and I'm just going to tap in and, voila.
I know. Bang, instant, whatever.
Right. What we want to share with you is that it's the transmutation of that energy now, meaning that your vibration will get higher. And then because of that, you'll stay in that joy, in that peace, in that wonderful space, so that your mind is clear to be able to attract your thoughts. And a lot of times we get like intuition, and those are like hits that we get from the universe into, hey, maybe this would be a good business idea, or hey, maybe I should call this person because I haven't talked to them in a long time. What happened to Shelley and I want to check up on her, and voila, here we are doing our podcast and creating our business. So that's what it means. It means that if you stay in that higher vibration, elevated, it's going to attract positive things into your life that you want, because you're going to be more open to receiving them. Exactly. If you're running around being fearful, being afraid, it's not going to happen because you're blocking that. And this is what we're trying to teach you guys, that it takes more energy to run around in fear. And, and we understand that a lot of people are going through a very hard time right now. But like we said, even if it's one thing that you are grateful for every day, the moment that you wake up, I'm so grateful that I can breathe. I'm so grateful that I'm alive. Things like this.
Yeah.
This is
appreciation is a high frequency vibration too. And tap that in with being loving and caring, like what Shelley just said. Appreciation is combined with some of those other things that you were saying, other emotions, is humongous. It is the catalyst between, something coming in and something not coming in. It's huge.
It's really huge. And this is what we're trying to share with you. That's the sexual transmutation of the energy, co-creating and helping you. But if you're blocked, it's not going to come in. So this is part of sex and power, and utilizing it, like we set the intention for great, like your greatest wealth. And wealth, I wanted to talk about that because we should have a show on this.
Oh, yeah.
It's not about the money, because a lot of times we think the money. Wealth encompasses so many other things. Your health is wealth. Yeah. Having health today is
Oh, especially now, right?
Exactly.
It's a blessing. It's a blessing.
It's a blessing. So health is wealth. So this is part of this whole energetic chasm that we're putting you guys in today, so that you can start thinking more about it, doing more research and reading, and just we wanted to just shake it up a little bit and say, hey, guess what?
Yeah. And where we're all isolated, man, if you have a significant other and you're in a good relationship, or maybe which is the topic of our next show, but like maybe if it's kind of like a little like off, maybe it's time to plug into some of this information that we're talking about and open your mind a little bit to some new horizons. And it might be the little
spark that ignites your sex and power.
Yes, exactly. exactly. And make it fun, right?
Exactly. Yeah. It's important. It's important to us. The greatest word in this universe is love. Everything is love. And it's such a great energy, and this is part of that energy.
Yeah. Can you repeat that? It looked like Zoom kind of froze on you.
Oh my gosh.
For a second. It was like for a brief second. You started to say love is a great energy, and then
because it's so great, it just clogged up Zoom.
Yay.
So love is the greatest energy in the whole universe. Just think about it. That word love. And we equate love and we attach it to so many things that really are not love. So we should do a show on love.
Oh, yeah. Well, we got plenty to talk about here for sure. I mean, like, we already have a laundry list of stuff. I'm like, yeah, we already have ideas right through July. July is going to be a good month. So this particular energy too that we're talking about is called, it's a tantric energy. And there's, back in the day, I can remember tantric, you'd see sex and then you'd see like all these videos or whatever. And it looked a little, but it's actually about, it looked a little too much woo woo or whatever. I mean, you gotta decide what's for you or not. But that aside, what it is we're basically raising Kundalini energy, which is a serpent type energy. And we're tapping into that as a powerful source of energy to create and manifest in our lives. And it raises the energy, what I was talking about before, that energy raises up the central axis of the spine all the way out through the crown of the head. And that's where you tap into, the universe. And then you have, if your emotions are aligned and your emotions are positive, and you will attract to you certain instances that will bring you greater happiness, joy, love, peace, whatever it is that you as an individual are seeking in your life. And
it can be in the form of opportunities, friends, people that you meet.
Yes.
And you strike up a conversation with them, and all of a sudden you're synergistically aligned to maybe get a job, to maybe start a business, to maybe get married, start a relationship. You never know. And that's why you always have to keep an open mind, because this is what we're talking about. And
this energy will attract those experiences to come into your life. Everything that Shelley just said, that's what this is all about. Having that that charismatic magnetism. It's all about magnetism. And when you see somebody that's like really, you think is really sexy and stuff, you're like magnetized to them. You can't take your eyes off of them. That's what this is about. It's harnessing this type of energy, and then it transmutates into attracting the things that you want individually in yourself, like the lifestyle, the life vision, everything that you want to attract in your life. So,
and it works because I am a testament to it. It works.
Totally. Yes.
Yeah.
So, do you have anything else you want to add, or?
Well, it works because you just have to set your mind to it and be positive. And that's what I wanted to share with people.
Yeah.
And write down what you want, because it's important. I always believe in writing down what you want. But it's more like you write it down, you work on these little techniques that we're sharing with you.
And I got a technique coming up.
Oh, girl, I know you do.
Oh, boy.
I know you do. So with that said, I just can't wait to hear what it is.
All right.
So today.
So I know. So a couple of years ago, I did this course on 10xing your energy with the power of yes. All right. And the power of yes is calling, it's a high vibration. It's allowing energy to come in. You're saying yes, you're welcoming it. All right. And that's as the female, we want to receive. And in sex, we had it all wrong. We should be a receiver. And the man is typically naturally the giver. So we'll touch on that stuff in another show, because that's like a whole other topic, and it's fascinating. All right. But with that said, so today's exercise, just to give you a taste on raising the Kundalini energy. And you can do this all by yourself. I mean, you could be in your car riding down. Now this you could be in the car doing.
Okay, this you can be in the car. Okay, cool.
Because this 10x is your energy. It raises your energy up. All right. So I'm going to do 2 different exercises. One is called fire breath. You might have seen this or done it in maybe a yoga class. It's pranayama, meaning breath work. And you know, from this podcast, we've done a lot with breath and the visualization and contemplation. So now we're just going to do breath work. So your eyes can be open. You're going to maybe feel a little funny doing this, but it's all good. So the first one, we'll do it. I'll try and time it for a minute. Okay. And then the next one we'll do for a minute. The next one is, well, whatever. The fire breath is about getting, it's like short little breaths in your upper chest. Like we've talked about the breathing, belly breathing, bringing, taking a full breath into our lungs, down to our rib cage and into the belly. This one is we're going to take a deep breath in, fill up our lungs, but we're going to hold on to that breath. But we're going to actually pulsate it in and out really fast, where we're going to bring our belly's going to move really fast in and out. And we're kind of utilizing that same breath to raise the energy and raise the heat in our body. So I'll start demonstrating, and you're going to take a deep breath in. And then as you exhale, you're going to like blow out like you're hyperventilating. So it's in through the nose, out through the mouth, really quick. So take another deep breath in, because I know this is hard to build up to a minute. We'll take another deep breath in. And then exhale it out. And then maybe the arms come up and they come down. So that's fire breathing. It's in through the nose and then exhaling really rapidly. Now the next one is a little bit easier, in that what we're going to do is we're going to raise our hands as we inhale, and our hands are open. And then as we exhale, we're going to go, ha! We're going to get our voices involved. I know. So this one is much more intense. You inhale up and then exhale, ha! And you let out like a spirit shout. You let out a shout, and it's inhale up, ha! But now you start doing it. You know how the fire breath, we were doing that fast? Well, now you do this one. Ha! And you could say yes in it too. You could be like, yes, 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 yes. So it kind of sounds like you're in the middle of having sex and having an orgasm.
Like that Tom Hanks movie, right?
I know, right?
Meg Ryan and Tom Hanks.
Seattle.
I love that movie. Exactly. But the other breathing reminded me when I was in labor.
Yes, it's like being in labor. It's like a fast panting breath. But that what it does is it starts to raise the Kundalini energy in your spine from your tailbone. It uncoils and it starts to come up through your spinal cord, and then all the way up through the crown of your head. And if you get really good at this, it'll become easier, say when you're having intercourse or if you're having sex or whatever, to be able to breathe like this during sex, and you'll be able to raise that energy up through the spinal cord, eventually to reach and expand, and then go into your whole auric field, where it's going to start to help you to attract amazing things.
I have to have a conversation with my husband, because I could just only imagine.
I know that. Yes. But you want to shoot for doing that, each of those for 1 minute without stopping. And I'm telling you, when you do that, I did a practice for an entire year of that. And I was so like, and you don't need to.
I feel really good. I feel like I could write a book with you like today.
Yeah, right. It gets you like alert.
Oh my gosh, I love this one. Yes. I'm gonna start doing that all the time.
Yeah. So you could do this down the road, like you're on autopilot driving. Do these two, and it'll wake you up. You can be in your car.
How are you doing them? Yes. I love this.
Yeah.
What great energy.
Yeah, so those are 2 pranayama.
Yes, I love that one. That's awesome. Yes, yes.
Yes. And yes
Wow.
is high vibration energy. So yeah.
And
Bring it in.
something that I wanted to share with everybody too, if you're in a situation where you're kind of down, or you've gotten into a situation like with someone that really got you upset, this is a great way to raise your vibration quickly. Because what you don't want is you don't want to stay in that lower, like the basement. Think of that as your low energy. You're in the basement. You want to be in the penthouse. So this is a great way, honey, I want to live in the penthouse. So this is a great way of getting yourself up to that penthouse.
Exactly.
These techniques that we're teaching you, because it's going to flow, everything flows. I feel terrific.
Yeah, I mean, it makes me smile, right? It makes you laugh. It makes you smile. You're like beaming. I mean, like I feel like I got some blood circulating through my body. I'm like, woo!
I feel
got a nice little glow going.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. So Shelley and I hope you guys found today's episode on sex. Gave you some things to think about. In the bedroom and maybe even in the boardroom, and your natural animal magnetism, and and to be aware and conscious of the energy you're putting out there, as well as beginning to see how powerful you are and how powerful the sex urge and energy can be in the creation of your life, whether you're single or in a relationship. And our next show, we're going to go into diving actually a little bit deeper on the topic of, we're going to get naked. Is that it? Getting naked by shedding more illusion. But I guess are we discussing marriage and divorce?
Marriage and divorce and the illusions of life, and what sometimes we tell ourselves that are illusions, but it's not reality. So we're going to start getting naked by just start shedding those illusions. And that's what our show is all about. So we're going to take a deep dive and share with you how energetically you can start, looking behind that curtain, because that curtain is your life, and really looking at it with clear vision, because this is the year of 2020. So that's what our show is going to be about. It's about getting naked.
And I'm not showing up naked on this podcast, though, just for anybody that thinks that that's going to happen. No.
No.
All right. I just want to thank everybody for joining us on this episode about sex and power, the most powerful force in the universe. So if you like or you enjoyed the show, please leave a review, because it helps people find the show. And on the review, mention how we might have helped or inspired you. And never miss an episode by subscribing on iTunes and downloading our episodes and sharing it with some friends. Go hit that share button. And this is
Cheli Grace
and Shelley Devine with Life Unplugged, raw, sexy, and real. See you on the next show of Evolve 360. Thanks for listening.
Thanks again.
Bye-bye.
Bye.